Okay, in this short video, we'll learn about direct lighting versus path tracing. In Octane, one of the first things that you need to be aware of are kernels. So from the Octane menu, open up the Octane settings window. And here the first tab is called kernels. Here you can define the kernel that will be used. We have a few different kernels like direct lighting, info channels, path tracing, photon tracing, and PMC. By default, it is set to direct lighting. Kernels determine how light rays will behave in relation to surfaces. They are the core algorithm used for the renderer. We will go through these kernels in much more detail in the rendering section of the course. For now, if I open up the live viewer and lock the resolution using this lock button, so the defined resolution in the render setting will be used for the live viewer in the render as well, you will see what we have. We have a light source on the left side and we have a bunch of simple geometries on the right side. As I mentioned, the default kernel type is direct lighting. When using direct lighting, the light rays will be terminated when they first hit a surface. So the light rays won't be allowed to bounce back and forth between surfaces to give us photorealistic results. The direct lighting is not used that much, and for the majority of the course, we will use other kernels, mainly the path tracing kernel. So when the kernel is set to direct lighting, you notice how the opposite side of the geometries that do not face the light source is completely dark. But if I change the kernel from direct lighting to path tracing, you can immediately see a major change. Now the dark side of the sphere is much brighter because the light rays that hit the floor and the thin cubes will bounce back and make the dark side of the sphere brighter. You notice how between the thin cubes is becoming brighter as well because again the light rays will be allowed to bounce back and forth. The PMC and photon tracing kernels are kind of similar to path tracing but have more specific use cases. Path tracing is the go-to kernel that we will use for the rest of the course. As I mentioned, these kernel types will be discussed in detail in the next section of the course, but I thought it was necessary to give you a heads up in case you created your own scenes and couldn't get similar results to what you would see in the rest of the videos of this course before watching the rendering section of the course. Now, when using path tracing, the most important parameter to control the quality of the render is the max samples value. The higher the max samples, the cleaner the render and the longer the render. By default, it is set to 16,000, which results in a very clean render that takes a long time. Normally, when I start working on a scene, I lower the value to around 500, 1000 for faster render, and then I can start increasing it for the final render. This should be enough. So from the next video, we will use the path tracing as the main kernel type. I might mention it when starting a video, but assume that the kernel type is set to path tracing when you watch one of the next lessons. So in this lesson, we'll learn about kernel types and the difference between direct lighting and path tracing. See you in the next one.